Do you want to start with introducing yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Brighitta. I live in London, and I've been practicing Reiki since 2004, and had already started teaching before I discovered sound healing, and that was just a friend had invited me to a sound bath with alchemy crystal singing bowls, which are really amazing. And I felt this movement in my body that I'd never experienced listening to sound before. This was a really eye-opening experience for me. So then I joined a course a couple months later and had a real acceleration with it. Just really expanded my practice, as with Reiki and with people and understanding energy and vibration and the body. Um, so yeah, so I have a space in London that I'm eager to get open again called the Temple of Alchemies, and we're hoping to
Oh,
open.
that's a nice name. That's a great name.
So we opened in January and then we closed in March.
Oh no.
But I'm hoping to reopen
Yeah.
in July. We're hoping to open again. And so my partner, I wanted a space to teach Reiki, but she sells the singing bowls and she was my sound teacher. So yeah, it's full of her amazing collection, which is like 200 singing bowls. So there's a lot of energy in there. They're all made of
Ah, fantastic.
crystal, and you feel this lightness, in the space. So yeah, so that's me. I'm excited to get back in there and work with groups and share that. It's that same magic with Reiki for me with the sound. It's so pure. It's
It
before.
is. Yeah, yeah. It is an interesting thing. But before we continue, I'm Frans,
Yeah,
Frans Stiene
sorry.
from the International House of Reiki. We got carried away already. That's great. I also teach Reiki over the whole world, and I love sound healing, and particularly for me, working with mantras. But yeah, I think talking to you is really interesting because when you were talking about this sound, I had some impressions coming to my mind that from a very young age, I loved music. I was, my mom always tells me that when I was very, very young, like 3, 4 years old, that if there was some Friends music on the radio, and I live in Holland, I don't really necessarily like Dutch music, but when there was Friends music on the radio, I would crawl over and put it higher and go like, oh yes, this is nice music. And I've always loved something about the French music, but so about flamenco music, I think it's I don't know, it touches my inner, when I hear it, I feel joyful, I feel this passion, I feel this, but I never really thought about it. Now, when you were discussing this sound and your experience when you went to this sound healing bath, I, I was brought back to my early childhood and these memories of these French, and we used to go to Spain because I had a cousin living there, and these memories of this Spanish music. I said I'm not so much into the Dutch music, and I love dancing. I love dancing. I would go dancing 3, 4 times a week to a nightclub, and uh, but it wasn't really later in my life that I saw something about sound healing, and how that could be beneficial.
Mm.
But your bowls look beautiful. I mean, I haven't been to your space yet, but I saw a couple of photos, and those bowls look amazing. So tell me a bit about those bowls.
So yeah, they are amazing. They're different than like the Tibetan singing bowls, also incredible, and they sound there's a similarity in the sound, but they're made with quartz that's very very pure. It's almost 100% pure, and
Mm.
people that make the bowls are called crystal tones, and they have this process of keeping the consciousness alive in the crystal when they're making the bowl. So they melt down this very pure quartz, and then um, they add all these metals and other crystals to the bowl. So there's one here. I'll show you, which is so it's quartz and then rose quartz and
Wow.
platinum, and then they also you can see it has lots of little bubbles.
Yeah.
They've put air inside the bowl for this like quality of spaciousness.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're really complex, really amazingly made with a lot of intention as well. So all of that
Mm.
all of that love and intention and purity, you can feel it. And then they harmonize together and they work, different parts of your body respond to, the vibration, the frequency, the crystal. There's all sorts of things going on. And then a
That's fantastic. Yeah.
practitioner as well, holds that space. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is actually something I wanted to ask you, but now you bring it up already, that the practitioner holds that space, because I mean, we can all bang a bowl.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in India for 2 years, and 1 year I lived in the northern part in the Himalayas in Darjeeling. And we'd go to these Tibetan monasteries early in the morning, and they had these big trumpets, and these cymbals, and they don't really use the singing bowls other than to bring, but not like this, but there is this cacophony of sound, this all sorts of instruments, and you sit there and they're chanting, these and you sit there going, and for me, when I started to go there, it was really powerful. I also had started to have these vibrations going through my body, and that was just at the beginning of my journey. So it was a bit new to me. I'd love to go back there again, and because it was still also very, very pure. These monks were just practicing, in these small little monasteries, sometimes 5 monks, sometimes 100 monks or nuns. And really that vibration was so powerful. And then including with the chanting and that coming together.
Mm.
And for me also, sometimes when we hear that in those temples, that cacophony of sounds, it's almost like chaos. But what I like about it, in that chaos, we find it very difficult to think about other things, and therefore our mind actually comes to rest.
Yeah.
But then what you were saying, it's also the practitioner holding space, because in those temples, some of those temples were like 500 years old or 1,000 years old, or like, and they've been practicing for all these years in this temple. So, and these Tibetan masters who do these chanting and that sound, of course there is also that holding space. Therefore what I say, we can all bang a bowl, doesn't necessarily mean that we're a sound healer.
Yeah.
So would you say as well that really is not just the quality of the bowl, but it's also how we as the sound healer operate ourselves, how we hold that space?
Yeah, I mean, it's just really very similar to a Reiki practitioner. A Reiki practitioner that's really grounded in presence and is just free of thought and working on you. And then somebody else that's got a very busy mind isn't really there. You can really feel the difference in quality of that energy that you experience, that relationship between your vibration and theirs.
Yeah.
I think with the bowls, it's the quartz amplifies the energy and the intention. So somebody that's very present and playing, it's such an amazing experience. You become very present. That experience, it touches you through the sound waves. But yeah, if somebody's got a busy mind, maybe it's something just as something's a bit off, and you don't quite get into that place with it. Yeah, I think presence is everything in what we do with other people.
Well, I mean, it's in daily life, right? In our relationship, you have a young child. I have my boy is 20, but it's the same thing. We have to have that presence, or with your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend. We have to have that presence. If we think about the future and are all caught up, or we analyze what happened yesterday, then we miss that beautiful moment where this is, if it's full of fear or anger or anxiety. And that for me is just the beauty of sound healing as well. And it's the same as chanting a mantra. And I'm training now with this Japanese priest since 2012. And I remember when I first went there and I started learning these mantras and chanting, and I would ring this little bell and he would go, no, that is not good. And I go, that sounds good to me. You just have this bowl and with a little stick, you just go doing, in between some of these chants. And he said, no, that was too weak, or that was too strong. And, it was not right in that harmonious way. And then he of course related back to my mind, your chanting was weak, or your chanting, you try too hard to chant, and therefore the way you bang the bowl was in relationship to your mind while you were chanting. And that for me opened my eyes in a lot of different things as well, that it's not just the sound. We all can make some wonderful sounds, but it's the person who handles the bowl, who handles the stick, who creates that space, what really creates that beauty in a way.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure your teachers, it sounds like they don't hold back.
No, they're no, they're pretty. He's pretty straight. He's not a man for bullshit. And
Yeah, wow.
it's quite cute though. It's challenging. When it was the first time there, I was challenging already, and then the second time I wanted to go there, and he said, "Frans, the first time you came on your terms. But now you come on my terms." And I think, shit, if the first time was on my terms and now on your terms, now I'm going to get scared here. And he really, I mean, but in a way it's good, because I think also as a lot of modern practitioners, no matter if it's with a singing bowl or chanting mantras or hands-on healing or whatever modality we do, I think often we forget that it is the practitioner holding that space, and I think that is so important. Sometimes people learn quickly. We have the same probably now with singing bowls. It's very popular, sound healing. And, a lot of people learn quickly over a weekend, a course. As the same with Reiki now, you have a lot of online courses. And then they say, oh, now I'm a Reiki teacher or a Reiki master or a sound healer. And you go there and they bang on some pots or they do some hands-on healing and you go, I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Yes, the energy is everything, isn't it? I mean, you can feel, and maybe somebody's never taken a course, but they are transmitting something.
Well, absolutely.
I went to Eckhart Tolle's talk last
Mm,
autumn, and you sit with him, you feel like you're having a Reiki attunement, but he's not,
yeah,
he doesn't practice Reiki, he doesn't call it that, but
no,
it's that presence is so strong, even in a huge auditorium with thousands of people.
yeah.
You're receiving that, you can feel it.
Well, this is, again, that direct experience, what
Yeah.
is so important. No direct experience of the practitioner. And for me, if I think about sound healing and, with those crystal bowls, I don't have them. I've played a little bit with them a while ago. Actually, I was at a class just before England. I was in a class, and this one lady at the Tibetan bowls and then also a crystal bowl. And she wanted to do an evening. I said, that's fine. We're all late. And she said, oh, no, pick a bowl, play with it, do something. And so I started to do it. It was really nice. And I really enjoyed it, actually. And for me, I really also could see, again, what you say, that it is the practitioner who's holding that space, who's holding the bowl. But again, that is with every part of life. And I really like it. So what do you do? Groups, or you do one-on-ones, or you do both?
Both,
Yeah.
yes. I love holding sound baths, in a group environment. Mostly people are asleep by the end, people
Yeah.
relax. It takes us to this really deep place so effortlessly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the one-on-ones are really interesting. So I'll do usually half the treatment is sound and half is Reiki. So it's sort of like two treatments in one, but
Fantastic. Yeah.
find that, after receiving sound and getting to that deep place, that Reiki just can just get right in there, and it's
Mm.
amazing to the quality of also the client being more relaxed, like how.
Well, absolutely. And I think it's just like playing music. Sometimes I remember when I was in Australia and I got this CD. It was a Tibetan Buddhist CD. Really, for me, I don't know, when I put it on, I was like, man, I am just in bliss. It was some Tibetan chanting by a woman, and I don't know, it really took me to a very, very interesting place within myself. So I thought, man, I'm going to play this in the classes. It's great. And the first time I did it, about 80% goes, what the hell is that kind of music, Frans? I couldn't sit still. And like, 15% said, well, I didn't really care. And maybe a couple of people said, wow, that was beautiful. And I thought, maybe I shouldn't play it because, but so therefore, if we play the right music, then we can all relax, and therefore the healing or the right sounds, and therefore the healing can seep in more.
Yeah. Yeah, and the great thing with sound not being music, there's never a plan when you sit down to
Yeah.
play. The other thing, it's playing, there's a real lightness already in the approach.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I'm just gonna play these sounds and let them do the magic, and then they're gone. The sound wave, I don't know where it goes. It keeps going.
Well, this is also, it's this beautiful ripple.
Yeah, like where has that gone to? And what it leaves behind, it just clears. It's so still, the silence
Yeah.
after you stop. It's like, and that for my self practice, it's amazing that moment where it's just, and then it teaches you how to be like that when you're in the park. To just be in that space, listen.
Yeah.
Just
But this is, I think, what you mentioned as well for me, playfulness. I think that is so important. And sometimes I see it also when we look at people who are in the spiritual teaching, so to speak, they sometimes become so bloody fucking serious, excuse my language. And I go, well, where is that playfulness? Because when we tap really into this deeper aspect of ourselves, we come towards playfulness. And of course, we express it in many different ways. But I think when we do, like, for example, sound healing, there, as you say, there is no specific method. You do what comes from within. And
yeah.
uh, and one of the first times, actually, Brighitta, what was interesting, what also comes to surface, I worked with a Taoist priest,
Mm.
a Taoist teacher, sorry, and for many years, unfortunately, she passed away, and we started to work with these sounds would come from within, and it was really. Uh, your kind of inner sounds. There's a Chinese word for it in her tradition. I don't know exactly the word anymore. I have to look it up. But and it was this sound would resonate from within, and then you try to voice it if you can. And certain sounds, of course, you can't voice because you don't know how to voice it. And so you become kind of your own singing bowl in a way, and it was very natural, really organic, and I practiced with that quite a lot, and I really liked it. Now I work with a more structured mantras for sound, but I like that playfulness with these bowls. And what I said, I was at this evening in New York in the US before England, and this woman with the singing bowls and said play. And I actually, what I started to do was chanting these sounds what come up and doing the bowl at the same time, and that I really enjoyed. And I thought, yes, I could do that. That feels lovely. Is this playfulness, this joyfulness?
Yeah, it's spontaneous, so it's true. It's like your true self just in sound, right? Coming out.
Yeah,
That's so beautiful. I think we've been chanting as long as we've been around human beings.
yeah,
It's so powerful. And I'd love to have a conversation with you about that as well. The chanting, like in when you don't know the language, but it's still powerful. I always think about that with Japanese. You don't
yeah,
maybe know what they mean, but you're still having an experience. Or in Sanskrit, they're very
yeah.
powerful sounds.
I mean, I don't speak Japanese, but I love I love chanting these Japanese mantras, and of course some sounds you can translate. Some are words, some are just sounds,
Mm.
and but I think also sometimes when we translate it, we get all caught up in that one sentence, instead of actually looking at the deeper elements of it. And I think it's the same maybe with a bowl. Some people see a bowl and they become caught up with the color of the bowl or the shape of the bowl or that particular sound. And then they're not really open and playful anymore because they've been caught up. Do you find something like that happens?
Yeah, I mean, maybe more when people are talking about what bowls they'd like to have. It's
Yeah.
because they come in different notes, and each note correlates to a different chakra. But actually, they're doing so much more than that.
Yeah.
There's much more to be experienced. But then there's a little bit of it, like the mind has already decided that this is for that, and I don't need that. I want this. So it's quite interesting, you know. Whereas if you're free with it, and some people are very free and they don't care if they've got two of the same note, and they're just going for what feels right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, to just have an open mind, to not decide, and
Yeah.
not to treat it as, I guess, with a mantra, you know, that this means that, and I don't need that.
This is it. Or even, yeah, I have it sometimes with hand positions. You know, a person comes and I said, well, I like this hand position, but I don't like this, or that was, and I go, let it go. It's okay. You know, is let it just be completely, because if we're going to say that in a session about a ball or a sound or a chakra or a hand position, then that means it also is in our daily life. I like this, but I don't like this. So this, you know, we come up with these very, it doesn't become open and playful anymore. Sometimes these crazy music actually can be quite fun, or these wild sounds or these soft sounds, or and for me, it's when I hear these sounds also, it's very nature-like.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think actually this happened, Brighitta, and I'm not sure. I don't know, but I think all of these people in the past, a long time ago, these masters and roaming, these shamans roaming the earth, they could hear the sound of the rain, the sound of a tree falling, or rocks, or thunder, or quiet sound, or all these different pitches, the wind howling. And then there was okay, how can I replicate that? And, you know, we came up with the rain stick, for example, and then these singing bowls came alive. And I think this is really that, for me, they're really like nature in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, and our own voice as well, you know, that's very powerful. So the singing
Yeah.
bowl, it can sound like a voice. And I have gone to some sound baths where I can hear voices, or even
Mm,
a gong. Gongs always have a lot of voices to me, you know, if I hear
yeah.
them. And you think, oh, there was like a group of people talking, or isn't that weird? They were singing, and it's like they weren't even respectful of the fact we were having a sound bath over here. And then you find out, no, that was the gong.
Yeah,
Really
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, and I think, you know, we resonate with voice so much, and that's the first sound healing instrument we had.
Well, this is it. We come out of the mother, we go, "Meow." We cry, you know. That's, you know, in the beginning there was the word, right? The
Yeah,
voice.
before the light
Yeah, before the line.
or the Big Bang.
Well, this is it. Yeah, the same thing. I feel, well, when I was again in Japan, they do this goma. It's a fire ritual, and the first time I went to Japan with this teacher in 2012, there was a teacher sitting, and he was doing this fire ritual. So they make this fire, and there was a priestess sitting over there with this massive drum, and she was do 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 in this rhythm, and the teacher was chanting, and I was sitting back. I was just going like, wow, this drumming and the fire and his chanting was really, every single cell of me was vibrating in that space.
Mm.
And then he also has this flat disc, and it's a metal flat disc, and it's on four little legs. It's about this high off the ground. And then he has like a metal-y kind of hammer, and then he hammers it like this also on a certain beat while he's chanting. And when that happens, it's almost, I don't know, it was with each chant and beat he was doing it was so, if I would give a description, I would say it was Thor's hammer hammering away at my layers, my walls, and it go like, man, I'm sitting here for an hour, he's chanting away for an hour, and he's doing this thing. I said, oh, I'm just cracking open in a minute. But that was actually great. So some, as you say, some sounds might not always be ooh, and we
Yeah.
might not pick it, but actually they might be very healing for us.
Mm. Yeah, and in group situations too, you're just reminding me of, you know, on Shinpaiden, to be
Mm,
surrounded by however many people were there, 25 people chanting
Yeah.
to you, you know, in a circle all around you, all the voices. I could really felt that. It's like really penetrating through, you know, coming in all the way into my energy field. It was so powerful.
Yeah.
I loved that. To, yeah, have voices and to be held. And I think in like a cellular way, I remember whenever I'm in that environment, it's not very often. And I wish, you know, we had more of those sorts of sound circles. But I feel like I remember, my body remembers this is how humans have been healing for a long time.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, yes, it's fantastic. Yeah, yeah. I think definitely, with the chanting, with mantras, and as I say, in the Tibetan monasteries with these horns and symbols, and then the Tibetan singing bowl, what was more played there, like ding 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 ding, not like this. I'm not sure if there must be a technical name for it, hitting it or stroking it.
Chiming it. Yeah. Chiming
Yeah,
it.
chiming it. But yeah, I've had quite a few of these sounds bath over the years, particularly after like a retreat, and some sound healers say, "Oh, can we do an evening?" So this is great, and it's really beautiful. I mean, it's that yeah, where you feel those waves coming through you. But again, as you say, you need to be open-minded for it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it can take you to such a pure space, you know, that it's like a
Mm.
childlike sort of that space before we were thinking too much.
Yes. That is the best space, right? I think we do this so good in a modern society, don't you think?
We're overthinking.
Overthinking.
Yeah. How do we get out of this mess? How do we get into the mess? How do we lock down? How do we get out? How do we, yeah.
Yeah.
So much thought. Just like tuning in to, you know, what feels right. Go with that.
And I think also when we think so much, then it's like it's one of those crystal balls filled with socks, right? And each ball of sock is like these thoughts. And then of course, when the more fuller they come, there's hardly any vibration left. So therefore also the playfulness goes away.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So do you find that people, when they come to you, either private sessions or in a group, do you find that what is their general reaction afterwards? Is
Oh,
there like,
they're always so relaxed. It's like, or sometimes people go, wow. And it's this, that's the reaction I had my first sound bath.
mm,
Wow, I wasn't expecting that. You know, your body responding because we hear harmony and our body wants to find harmony. So anything out of harmony, it's like a ripple will move through it in response to this outside sound. So that's usually people, I can see that that's happened when they go, oh, wow. Or sometimes they were laying very close and I have, you know, some very big bowls that make a very strong vibration that will go through the floor, you know, and it can bring up pain, like, you know, like Reiki. There's
mm,
a lot of similarity actually in the response.
yeah,
So someone might have noticed that there's a particular sound was working through a pain that they had, and you know, something's happened, some transformations happened. Yeah, almost always they have a hard time standing up again. It's so deep.
and do you actually? This is my other question. Do you always have the people laying down, or do they sit in chairs, or do you do it standing up, or is it depending on?
Laying down, but yeah, I don't know how that might change. You know, it might change now with the way the next few months are gonna go. I don't
Mm,
really know how we'll do it.
yeah,
Yeah, usually laying down, we have really comfortable mats so people can just really get deep. So it's
yeah,
not sort of like a sitting meditation where it's not that sort of concentration. You don't have to concentrate.
yeah,
So with sound, you there's no effort. You know, you just sink,
yeah.
sink into
Yeah,
yourself,
that's
and
great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's a little different.
Although I wouldn't mind actually, while we're talking about it, I wouldn't mind actually one day to stand and have a sound bath. Just because for me also standing. if I think about the energy moving through your body, when we're standing, it's this kind of pipe what the energy can flows through. Of course, laying down is great, but standing, I have to be, of course, well, unless I'm falling asleep standing. I think there's a medical disease. Like, actually, as a kid, my mom would look for me and I go, "Where's Frans?" And she would find me against the wall. I was standing like this, like having a little nap.
You could stand up and receive a sound bath, but it's actually the same premise that you're talking about with people lying down. You know, we have bowls towards their
Ah,
head,
yeah,
and
that's it. Yeah,
vibrations are moving from head to toe, you know, through that way.
yeah,
And then they're usually laying in a circle around, if I can, you know, like a circle around the bowls. Um,
that's nice
so
too.
it's the same sort
Have
of
you
channel.
Have you ever, I just got this vision in front of me. Have you ever had like three people, like one person laying down and then one person at the head and one person at the feet playing a bowl each, and then one person in the middle playing a bowl? I mean, that would be, or two
Yeah,
people in the middle, like completely surrounded by a group of four people or five or six
yeah.
playing these bowls.
I've only done that on the course where I learned how to play. That was,
Mm.
and it's like a Reiki share, but with sound. You know, coming from every.
Yeah, well, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, ultimately, there's so many different possibilities we can do, right?
That's the thing. Yeah. So the more playful you are, the more creative you can be. You know, you start just experimenting and seeing like, intuitively what might work. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so much fun.
You know, I see a drawing behind you. Is that from your son?
Yes. Yeah, that's my son's drawing of the Gruffalo wearing a school uniform.
Oh, well, that is good. But so does he like the sound healing?
Yeah, he loves it, but he always he'll touch the bowl when it's playing, so it makes it stop vibrating, of course, but he'll immediately put his hand to it and it stops. But he does,
Yeah.
yeah, he loves it, and I've taught him how to chant the Reiki principles, and he loves
Oh,
it
that's
too, you know.
fantastic.
It's great.
That's
I didn't even mean to. I was just doing it, and he learned, of course, by listening to me do it.
yeah.
The beginning of the Corona crisis, I just couldn't help but do it all the time. It was really helping. Yeah, it's really beautiful with him, and he's really into Ninjago. It's like a Lego thing.
Okay.
So the good thing about that is he sees them meditate and do more Eastern spiritual practice.
Oh,
So he's
fantastic.
quite interested in meditation. Oh, he's not quite doing it properly. He sits down and he goes, but it's like a good start.
Well, this is it. You know, I think also in a modern society, I hear a lot of parents, and they kind of keep it hidden from their children that they do some spiritual practice. And then for me, that actually then becomes something separate from their life. So it's something what they see not being part of their life, but then because it's not part of their life, it's very difficult to integrate into their life. So it's
Yeah.
the same with sound healing. Everything ultimately makes a sound, you know, the pot of pasta bubbling, and we can take it from whatever angle we want it, of course, and some sounds we might like and sometimes sounds we don't like. But yeah, to actually integrate it with your family and with your son, I think is a really beautiful experience.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like it's now my profession. It's so much part of my life.
Yeah,
Have no compartment for my spirituality anymore. It's taken over.
yeah.
It's just who I am, so it's just who you are. Everything you do, it could be playful, but there's still that element there. You're aware, you've got the awareness of.
Yeah, I think this is a very big problem in our modern society, where we compartmentalize these. You know, this is my spiritual practice, this is my friend practice, this is my work practice, this is my family practice, and it's not really flowing all through each other. And I think when it starts to flow, just like the sound, when we stick these sounds in a box, like if we put a box around a singing bowl and then
Yeah.
it's not going to go anywhere. It's not integrated. And therefore also that vibration, I see there's two tuning forks, the one and the other one automatically starts to vibrate with it. But if we put a box around it, then nothing happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And what are we, what is our spiritual practice for? What are we practicing for? You know, it's for life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I love my son as a teacher as well, though, because he's, you know, he's always present. He's not planning. He doesn't think about what we're doing. Maybe he thinks sometimes if we talked about something happening Friday, he'll look forward
Yeah.
to the day, but he's not thinking about what we're doing in a couple months, you know. He's so present, and if I'm present and I notice him being present, it's so powerful to share that
Yeah.
space with him, you know, and he notices too when I'm present and when I'm not.
Of course, we think kids don't see things, but then they're not stupid. We,
Oh, it's
oh, they didn't see that we had an argument, or they didn't see that we snuggled up, or they didn't see or hear that. And we go like, oh, of course, man, what they notice it quicker than we do, right?
yeah,
And why were you angry? And I go, how did you know I was angry? Well, why are you grumpy? Or, hey, you're so happy today. I mean, of course, this
yeah,
is this is it. Yeah. I mean, it's our own. Actually, we could say that we are a singing bowl, right? And
totally.
and
Yeah,
and when we drum or hit or whatever way you call it our own singing bowl, and then of course that's going to have a resonance from whatever resonance that is. That could be anger or worry or fear. There could be love or playfulness and kindness. And that, of course, if you as a singing bowl resonant is kindness, then other people start to feel kind around you or playful around you. But if you sit there going, feel like crap, well, then your singing bowl resonates that, and
yeah,
then there's a high likely chance that other people around you, if they're not centered and strong, then they go also like this.
yeah, exactly. We're all vibrating, and yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear this, you know, maybe not with our ear, but we can hear each other's song. You know?
I was thinking we're all walking vibrators. No, just kidding.
No, that's not what I said. Just gotta take it out.
No, no, take it out. But it is, we're all vibrating, and that absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I would. This is it. Everything is ultimately vibration, and when we can tap into this, then of course things is not as solid as it seems. Of course, I can knock here on the wall and we say it's solid, but if I have a more direct awareness, then I might actually see that it is also vibration. And this is, I think, the beauty of sound. It's not something solid. We can feel it, we can sense it, and yet there's a non-solidness to it. And therefore, for me, the sound also is a beautiful link between the mind and the body. The mind being very solid, or the body being very solid, and the mind being very subtle, and the sound just hanging in between there. And therefore, it is linking that mind and body together.
Yeah, yeah, I love that description. That's perfect. Yeah, and then when at that opening that happens, you know, when we're receiving that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as a sound healer, is there anything else you think this I need to share? This is ah
There really isn't. What a thing to ask. I've not planned that out at all. um, I just think, yeah, just to be playful, you know, you can. It doesn't even need to. You don't need to necessarily go out and get like the most expensive crystal singing bowl either. You know, to have an experience of your own voice, just singing.
yeah,
I found, you know, times of like a lot of maybe pent up sort of emotion that I didn't know how to express. Just singing gets that energy out. It's a way of moving energy, you know.
yeah,
So you can start with that, and then you know, actually once you find that presence, to then go and approach something like crystal singing bowl, to experience that presence be amplified, um and to resonate back, you know, you end up with these vibrations together, you know, this harmony between you
yeah.
and that. Yeah.
I think this is nice. And I think also because, you know, when you're playful, you can just sing whatever you want. But this is a problem, what we have also now in society, where a lot of people say, oh, I can't sing because their parents or their partner or their kids say, oh, you can't sing, or that's not the right tune. And but actually be organic. It's okay. La, 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 la. I don't know. My mom always, you know, she loved opera, and she would just walk around the house going la 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 like this. And I loved it. I thought she was completely bonkers, but that's okay. She still is. But it's that freedom what was so beautiful, you know, so expressed in her freedom of to just let it go and just sing. And I think it's just a beautiful when you can hear that. And again, it's that playfulness. I think we both come back to that playfulness, what is so important as a healer and just general in life.
Yeah, I mean, really, people always ask, I'm sure the same with you, people always ask about protection, you know,
Yeah.
on a Reiki course, how do I protect myself? Actually, it is the best protection. Just be light, be playful. You
Yeah.
don't get in there, don't go down there. You know.
This is it. Yeah, we can focus on the negative side, or we can focus more on the light side. And as you say, you know, if you see the sunlight filtering in and it's playful through your room in the morning, I mean, it doesn't need protection. It's just there in that playfulness. And yeah, I think that playfulness is so, this is a good, actually, we could call this interview the Playfulness of Sound Healing. I love it.
Perfect. I love that. Oh.
But it's yeah, it's that going back to being, as you say, that young child who's in awe, in wonder, really present. And if the kid wants to sing or dance or hop up on one leg, they do it, you know, or whatever. My mom, now that I live back in Holland, my mom tells all these stories. And uh, I remember it vaguely. When I was very young, we used to travel a lot by train and bus or by bike because my mom and dad didn't have a car. And so we would sit in a train, and my mom and dad were always a bit worried. Well, not worried, but because I was trying to entertain the carriage of the train. And she was just saying that one day that I was sitting in the train, and opposite me was a guy, and he had this huge nose. And she said, Frans, you was looking at his nose, and each time you went closer and closer like this. And the guy, he was just sitting there very calm, and he said, you were about this close. And the guy just looked at you and said, sir, you have a really big nose. And the guy was just laughing so hard, and everybody in the carriage was laughing. They were observing this thing. But again, it's that playfulness, you know, and these kids are just so, now we say, oh, you can't say that, you can't do it, you can't interact with other people, be careful what you say. But again, it depends on the intent, depends on the openness of it. And therefore, there's so much more playfulness.
Yeah, and you invite, in that state, you invite everyone else to be themselves and to not take it all so seriously too. You know, you give other people permission.
Well, this is it. I was in a train before the lockdown, and it was about maybe an hour train ride. And in the carriage, suddenly I think there was about 13 or 14 young girls coming in. And they belonged to some school, university, or whatever. So they must have been 18, 19 years old, I think 18, 19, 20 years. And man, were they happy. And they were sitting, I was sitting by myself. So there was two facing me, one next to me, and then these others there. And they were singing, and the one next to me opens up this laptop, and they're watching this little video clip they've made with this song, and really funny. They're part of this group. And they were doing it on a song from ABBA. So I quickly Googled this song on my phone, and I played it, and we're all singing it there. And they were looking at me, and at afterwards that they had to go out of the train, and they said, oh man, it was so cool of you to join us and not to be, and some of them said, oh, thanks for not finding us annoying, and thanks for joining in and being playful. And it was just such a wonderful train ride. But I could also sit there going, oh, there's this man, I have to sit here listening to these loud girls, they're singing, they're annoying, they're having fun.
Yeah.
Then
I'm trying to read the news about Corona.
that's it. But
Yeah.
this is the same when we come for a treatment. We need to be willingness to participate in this sound bath. We need to be willingness to be open. Don't be too picky what kind of sounds, color, or shape the bowl is, and let it just playfully engage in it all.
Yeah, yeah, to not have any expectations. I think
Mm,
this time has been really good for me to not have expectations of myself. We're all just doing what we
yeah,
can now. Um, and to realize how many that we do normally have. And that's why I love it. Of course, music's amazing, but with music, we approach it with some sort of expectation. If I
yes,
play music just even in my car, there's like an expectation. I need it to sort of match the mood I'm in or
yeah,
take me to a good place or but with sound healing there's you don't know what's going to happen. There's none of that. It's really free. It's really
yeah.
free.
That's nice. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Even I see this a lot in the system of Reiki when people come in for hands-on healing, they still have a certain expectation. You
Yes.
have to hold the hands like this, or oh, last week it was like this, so is it going to be the same again? Are you playing the same music as last week because that was great? All of these certain expectations, and sometimes if these expectations are not met, then we say, oh, yeah, but you placed your hands somewhere else. And again, I was very lucky because when I worked with this Taoist teacher, we do one-on-one sessions, and for 12 years, every time we would come together, each session was different. Sometimes we would just chat like this for an hour. Sometimes he would say, Frans, lay down on the floor, and she would do hands-on healing, and she would chant something. Sometimes go and sit, or go and stand, or go and do this movement, or do this visualization, or go and lay on a massage table. Or it was always different. No treatment or session, I wouldn't even call it treatment, no session was the same. And I think that is that trusting each other to be really open, and willingness to explore those sounds also within sound healing.
Yeah, and I guess by her doing that she's teaching you not to have an expectation as well. So
Well, absolutely, yeah.
it's impermanence. It's all that. It's sort of spontaneous. It's true. Yeah, that's really interesting. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's that spontaneity. Say it again.
Being spontaneous.
Spontaneous. Yeah,
Spontaneity.
what is that other word? Spontaneity. For spontaneity.
Spontaneity. Love.
Oh man, there are certain words I just find spontaneous are good. That is good. I'm fine with that. But
Yeah.
being spontaneous. But this is the same in life. You
Mm.
know, when well, yes, the other day I was playing soccer with a 14-year-old kid, and then two other 18 or 17-year-old kids came along, and I said, "Oh, so we go and ask them if they want to play a game." And the 14-year-old goes, "I'm not used to asking." "Oh, let's do it." You're being spontaneous, and maybe you want to do it, but you feel, what would the others say? My dad used to say, "Oh, you always have you always have no, but you could get yes,"
Yeah.
and I like that. So therefore, and then I like this other one as well. Like, 50% of the people will like you, 50% of the people will don't like you. So who cares? Or you just be spontaneous, be yourself. And my son is a really great example as well, because he used to be my daughter, and
Yeah.
now he's came out 3 years ago as being my son. And he said, I need to be myself, and this is who I am. And it's a really beautiful that we don't have to hide it, and then we can just be ourselves. I mean, this is for me a spiritual practice, be that liberated spiritual self. And it doesn't mean we all have to be free and being crazy or whatever. Of course, there's the aspect of compassion in it, but uh yeah, don't restrict yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And to give, that's beautiful. Oliver, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Oliver's doing that, and everyone around him can give themselves permission to be more themselves, because
Yes,
he's got to really strive to find that place where he feels authentic. And you
yeah.
know, sometimes it might just be as simple as asking a question. You know, it's not actually that much effort, it just feels huge at the time. Yeah.
That is it. Yeah, just yeah. And I see how, as you say, that gives other people permission to be their authentic self. And this for me is actually spirituality, is being your authentic self. But if we pretend, but this is comes back again to the first thing we started off with, is really that you're the person holding space, you're the person responsible. So if people can see you banging banging on these balls, doing whatever you call it, hitting the balls, and they see your playfulness in that, that gives them their permission to be playful.
Yeah, and to know that this is a safe space for you to be you. You know,
Yes.
I also don't have expectations, don't have any of what you're going to receive, but I have none for you either.
Yeah.
Just let's just
Well,
share.
this is, I say that sometimes, and then people get a bit upset, and they say, well, but shouldn't you have expectations? And I go, no, because then we're both free.
Yeah. I had this great conversation with my partner in the space, Ginevra, the other day about the word hope, you know,
Yeah.
and somebody after the course put this great post up saying, give up all hope. And, you know, you read that and you think, oh, but actually to look at that word, what are we saying when we say, I hope? You know, it's actually even more than an expectation. It's, I think, more maybe damaging. We think, well, I don't have that and I want that, so it's very far away from us. When we're
Yeah.
hoping, you know, we're reaching. So I hope this is nice, I hope this is worth what I paid. Or, you know, whatever that hope might be. I hope this makes me a better person. I hope I, you know, and actually to just step into the reality of, you know, saying, I hope this works out. It has worked out. You're here, you're breathing, you're
Mm,
fine, you know,
yeah.
to make
I'm
it.
so glad you say that, because for me, when I went into this spiritual journey, I started to read some Buddhist books, and in some of these teachers, and they use both hope and fear. You have to let go of hope and fear because they come from the same root. And for the first time I read it, I got like, what? And then I thought, man, they are so right. I hope tonight is going to be a nice night. And then if it's not, then I'm going to be disappointed. And if it is, then I have an attachment to it. So therefore, we have to give up hope. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's,
but it's difficult for people to understand.
yeah, to actually just be okay with how it is right now. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's really all we ever have. It's so interesting, just the collective sort of mindset, you know, around what's happened with the word unprecedented and the word uncertain. Of
Yeah.
course, I don't know what these are in Dutch, but in English,
Yeah.
that's what I'm reading.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Probably, right? So, I mean, all that's about is the past and the future. So
Yeah.
we've never had this before. We don't know what's going to happen, but we've never had certainty.
We
We've
never had certainty.
never had it.
I might not wake up tomorrow morning, and this might be the last video ever.
But it is the reality, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know.
This is it. This
No,
is it. Yeah.
we've never known anything. We just
No.
had an illusion of calendars, and all of 2020 was mapped out, you know, well in
Yeah.
advance. And it's really interesting to watch us all be so uncomfortable with that, but actually to realize that that's actually how it's always been.
Always. We can't hold on to anything. And if we make a problem about it, then yeah, more sound healing.
Yeah, then we need to chant for an hour
Yeah, that's it.
just to stop the mind. It's all it is, isn't it? It's the mind.
It's the mind, absolutely, what hooks onto that hope and fear. But it's the same again, you know, when then we, if I as a practitioner have a really attachment to hope while I'm doing the singing bowls, then that limits my holding of that space. That of course that quality goes in the way I'm tapping, drumming, banging, these singing.
Yeah, but as you said, you know, use the word sticky as an analogy. Like it,
Yes.
we get sticky. We're not smooth and fluid in that. We're
Yeah.
sticky. It's not. It's not like just moving anymore.
Yeah.
Go back.
Oh, it's the same. If the singing bowl gets sticky, then it's not pure sound anymore, right? The sound becomes sticky, and yeah, and that's that hope and fear. Wow, it's fantastic.
So nice to chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brighitta, for chatting with me and having this little lovely conversation. And yeah, so check out Brighitta's studio in London, open again in July, June or July.
July for sure. Hopefully for
Yeah.
sure. I don't know anything. um,
Oh,
July.
that's right.
It's
We never know.
yeah. We don't know, but we hope. We hope. That's funny, isn't it? But thank you so much, Franz. It's always a delight to talk and yeah, to be playful.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, playful interviews. We don't have to plan it. We just go for it and see where the ship strands or where the sound moves, where we go from this way and that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fantastic. So thank you so much.
Thank
And yeah, safe sound journeying.
Yes, thank you, and to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Franz.